So much can be learned from other people's gains and failures. Anybody's mistakes can end up being a shortcut for you. My biggest low in real estate investing came back in 2005 as we were just getting ready to hit the Great Recession that we all remember very well. I was getting deeper and deeper into real estate investing. I've always been an advocate of house hacking, and house hacking is a term often used when you're not married, you don't have children. You can easily live in the homes you're buying and get great interest rates. You get reduced down payments. I was getting ready to house hack into my first multi-unit, and I found this what appeared to be an amazing fourplex. I mean, really good condition, 1,200 square foot units, side by side, townhome style with backyards, and it was an up-down 2-bedroom, 2-bath each per unit, and it just seemed good, you know. But I was in this phase of my investing where the market was so red hot that many of us young and more inexperienced investors felt like you couldn't lose, you know. And a lot of the reason we were buying was for speculated appreciation. We just kind of thought it was going to just keep going up. And unfortunately, I paid $315,000 for this fourplex, and I deliberately did not bring it to my mentors and coaches. And I've been getting coached and mentored now in business and financially since very early 2000s. I paid a lot of money for a coach. Reluctantly, I was terrified to do it. And my business partners at the time were very encouraging over the idea of coaching. And, you know, I managed to kind of step outside of my do-it-myselfer type of comfort zone and hired coaches. And, you know, I'd been growing my coaching team for a while, for a number of years by this point, and I just chose not to ask for their input. Why? Because I was so emotionally motivated by this specific property, and nobody was going to tell me not to do it. And unfortunately, closing in November of 2005 at a $315,000 purchase price, I had it appraised just 6 months later by May of 2006, and the property had dropped $180,000 in value. Interestingly enough, now we knew that the value had dropped that much because 2 identical model matches next door sold for $135,000. And if you know anything about appraisals, you'll know that they base it off of a few key factors, like recency of the sale. So something that sold yesterday is obviously going to be far more relevant than something that sold a year ago. Similarities behind the properties. So a model match, a property that's identical to the property you own, is by far the most comparable comp. And something in nearby proximity is a third factor that's being considered in appraisals. And these were next door. So obviously there was no disputing that the property value had fallen. And it was my first major lesson in the power of cash flow. Now, I always supported cash flow, but if I'm buying for speculated appreciation versus buying for cash flow reasons, it wasn't what was guiding my decisions. So this property, unfortunately, was only cash flowing about $150 per month for all 4 units total. That's not going to get you very far, guys. So this was a major turning point in my career, and I held on to this property for 4 years, and it finally became obvious that I was, you know, in possession of a lemon. And sometimes you just have to decide when it makes sense to cut your losses. So what did I do at this point? Well, I learned from my mistake and decided that it was a good time to actually consult with my mentors and coaches about my best next decision. And we ultimately ended up choosing to short sale that property. So this was back in 2009 going on 2010. It did wash the slate clean. There were some legislative benefits to this where we were not 1099'd on the difference of the loss. So it was not counting as income against us. So in that sense, it was great. But here's the problem. By short selling a property, it destroys your credit. Most banks are unwilling to negotiate for less than what you owe unless you begin missing payments, at which point they will then negotiate and allow you to sell the property to another buyer for the actual value of the home versus what you owe. And so we got out from underneath it, but at the expense of my personal credit. So as a credit expert at that time, I was enthusiastic that I could get my credit turned around relatively quickly. And we did. I mean, it took about 2 years, but it sidelined me during 2 of the best buying years that have happened in my lifetime. And that was the lesson I took away. that had I just made the right decision up front to bring the decision to people that were way more qualified than me, to give me some insight as to the best decision I could have been making in that time, the chances are I probably wouldn't have ever purchased that fourplex, and it would have changed the outlook of my investing potential, in that downturn where all these properties were on sale, and so that was a really great life lesson for me, was bring it to your coaches. Guys, thanks again for checking out our channel. Make sure you subscribe. Check out the other videos in the meantime. And we'll see you on the next one. Until then, make it a great day today and take care.